Hello, good afternoon. How's everybody doing today? I am pretty excited. Thank you, Elizabeth. I am excited. I have spoken at a lot of the Inspired Leaders, but it's been about 2 years since I've been back on the stage, so I'm excited. I'm a little more humbled than I was 2 years ago when I was on that stage back then. It's been a fun 12 months and 24 months for sure. So let's dive in. And also, I think, excited to see some of my friends here in the back today. Mr. Weaver, thanks for coming. Bob, thanks for coming. Outside of Bob and Terry, I haven't really shared many combat stories at all in all the speaking that I've done. Maybe one podcast me and Terry did. But today I'm going to tell a little bit of some combat stories. But I'm not going to be Debbie Downer the whole time, I promise. It has relevance for where we're going with the story, so hang with me. So what we're going to talk about today is ambition meeting resistance. So happy Mother's Day to all the moms in the room. We're a week past Mother's Day, but happy Mother's Day. Give yourself a round of applause if you're a mom. So I'm going to take you back to Mother's Day weekend of 2005. Pretty much one of the worst weeks of my life. So I found myself in Iraq. We're in Iraq, and Zarqawi had made a stronghold on the Syrian border in a little bitty town called Al-Qaim. So I went out there. I was 20 years old, had a great childhood, grew up in Southeast Texas. My mom loved me a lot more than the Marines did. She never talked to me the way they talked to me. So I was very well protected and sheltered, and I found myself with no friends, no family, in a foreign land. And out of all of the 3 combat tours that I did in Iraq, about 22 months in the Middle East, about 95% of the horrible stuff that I saw in the combat all came from this little 10-day window, Mother's Day of 2005. So we go out and we're looking for Zarqawi, and a whole battalion of Marines is trying to push over the river, and there's only one exit from the city. We know Zarqawi's in the city. So the whole battalion of Marines is pushing up from the south, trying to cross this bridge, and there's only one exit to the north, and 2 brave tankers and a few Humvees are trying to hold that bridge so nobody can leave the top of it. We're flying right over top, providing air support. I was a helicopter door gunner back then. I'm on the 50 cal. And one of the tanks ran over a double-stacked anti-tank mine. We instantly see the smoke coming up from it. We called in the medevac plane because we weren't supposed to land there. We called in the medevac plane, and unfortunately, they could not make it. They were so busy with all the Marines south of the river trying to get across, they couldn't make it. So we go in, we land. I'm frazzled. I leave my gun in the helicopter. Really dumb mistake. My sister still makes fun of me for that one, so I appreciate that. I leave my weapon in the helicopter, run over to the tank. There are rounds coming in. There's more mines laying around. It was a pretty bad day. We were able to pull out 3 of the Marines out of the tank. We rescued them. We lost a couple of guys that day. We went back in that night. We were making runs all day, in and out of this fight, reloading weapons, ammo, bringing people back and forth to hospitals. Just a tough day. We went back in that night to try to rescue the few remaining Marines that were still stuck in the bridge. And one of the LAVs that we were bringing back up hit another IED. We lost another 14 Marines. Horrible, horrible day. It was tough. And then after about 4 or 5 days of this going on like this, I finally got my hands on a satellite phone, and I was so excited to call my girlfriend at the time. I called my girlfriend, and she broke up with me. Yeah, pretty crappy week, I gotta tell you guys. And then what's funny to me is I remember going out on day, I hang up the phone, well, this sucks. Get back in the plane, we're out on missions the next day, and I was not a very good Marine. I was not a good door gunner. I was so scared. I had become overcome with fear of the possible, we're only 2 months into this thing. I got to stay here for another 7 months. How am I going to make it through this? How am I going to get through the support? My girlfriend just broke up with me. I would find myself on the mission, just sitting behind the gun, unengaged, just scared of everything that was out there. And I finally had to have a talk with myself, and I just had to let it be okay that if I die here, if something bad happens, I can't control those things. I got to try to work on the things I can control. So we are going to come back to that story here in a little bit. I promise it's not a Debbie Downer story for no reason. We're going to come back there. So I really want to answer 2 questions. And you can ask everybody here that knows me and spends time with me. I've spent a lot of time over the last 12 months trying to figure out some answers to these 2 questions. So why is it so hard to achieve the visions we have in our head A lot of us, we get these really great visions, we see it, and then we want to go tackle it, but it's so difficult. Why is that? And then the second question I want to make sure we answer today is, how do we move forward with everything going on? Is anybody right now not afraid of all the stuff? And it's so hard to keep that stuff out of our head. So how do we continue to move forward and build great lives and build a great community like Elizabeth was talking about with everything that's going on today? So I just want to provide some insight on what I've learned that's helped me get through all of this. So this is Delta Life Fitness. I was one of the original co-founders of Delta Life Fitness franchising today. That's my wife on the right there. She's another one of the co-founders. Also got Nathan here. He's on our team. Nathan, thanks for coming and supporting today. So Delta Life, literally, if you look in that top left picture, Delta Life started on a basketball court with no equipment, no nothing. Just a little dude there, some jumping jacks, and some other people that wanted to do some jumping jacks. Yeah, you get it. You started with no cake pops, and now you got cake pops, so she gets it. Once we had to work for a long time, and we went through this entrepreneur roller coaster. This is all the way back in 2009, that top left picture. We fought hard. We didn't have any money to start up, and back then, I thought people who created brands were like trust fund babies. They were born and they went through business school before they were 12, and they had a nice big inheritance, and that's the only way you could really create a brand. That's kind of where my limiting beliefs were when I was a young man. But fighting from 2009 to 2017-ish, on this initial run of Delta Life, going from parks and parking lots into warehouses, into the studios that we have today. So today, Delta Life Fitness is a nationwide fitness franchise with beautiful studios. We have things that Kristen and I would have never imagined back in those early days in those parks. I mean, the application, the heart rate monitor system, it's all way beyond what we ever thought it could be back when we were first starting out. We've done some cool things. This is our little I love me slide, sorry. But we have done some cool things. We've been on all the big four, CBS, ABC, NBC, and Fox. Been in Club Industry Magazine 9 times, Franchise Industry Magazine cover. Right before the world fell apart in January of 2020, we were the cover of Franchise Dictionary Magazine. We were really proud of that. We were on the Fantastic 500 list for 2021, Club Solutions Magazine Franchise Forecast list. I used to look forward to that list every year to see what the franchises, and they only put about 10 fitness franchises on that list. And I used to watch Planet Fitness and Orange Theory and all these companies. And then finally in 2019, we made the list. And we've been on it since. We've been on there in 2020 and 2021. That last bullet point there, the Houston Business Journal 2019 Fast 100, we placed like number 22 that year. And that was really cool for me because we had some really scary moments where it could have all went away. One of them we're going to talk about in a second. But when we moved from Florida to Texas, we didn't really have the cash, and in 16 we had done okay, but we made this risky move. We get here in 2017, and we had been working at that point for almost 8 years on this, and we had been on that entrepreneurial roller coaster. And then we had 100% revenue growth in 2017, and we were so excited. And then we did really good, and we hit 100% revenue growth the next year, 2018. And then we hit 100% revenue growth the next year in 2019. So we had 3 years of doubling our revenue every single year. It was a great run. And that used to be the part that I would love talking about. And I've given that part of the speech a million times. Things are hard, stick in there, hang in it, and you'll make it, good things. This is also another funny thing I like to share with everybody. I know there's a lot of people in here that are starting businesses. A lot of you are my friends and family, and I work with a lot of you guys. Cedric back there getting it off the ground, Hunter working hard, my main girl right here doing good things. You don't have to know everything, trust me. I could go on for hundreds and hundreds of bullet points, but these are real things that I've had to Google on this journey. I did not know business or any of these things. I had to Google these things. The second one there is really funny, and so I embarrassed myself on this one, on a call with actual attorneys. I'm on the call, they're like, Josh, execute the contract, we just sent it to you and send it back. And I was like, got it. How do you execute a contract? I was in the Marine. Do I put it in a headlock? Do I punch it? I don't know. For anybody that doesn't know, you just sign it. So it's actually pretty easy. But there are so many things that I had to learn along the way, and we're all the same way. There's so many things we got to learn to do it. Game-ending moments, like I was saying. Oh, I love that. Nothing to worry about. Everything's fine. We're in a very strong position. We've had a lot of the game-ending moments, and I'm sure you guys have all too. When we first started those parks and parking lots, we wanted to go from a license to a franchise. We were super excited. We heard all these benefits that you could have being a franchise model versus a license. And then the attorney said, all right, it's only going to take about $500,000 to get ready. And luckily for us, we were only about $500,000 short of that. So that was a big one. We had to figure out how to get that done. And then after coming up with that, figuring that part out, being in Florida, I remember our franchise coach sits us down and she's like, you're never going to grow this franchise. Elizabeth, a second ago, you were like, this is one of the best communities in the world to grow. They didn't tell us the same thing in Pace, Florida. They said, go somewhere like the Woodlands. So we picked up everything. We moved over here to Texas in 2017. We've missed payrolls. One of the hardest things to survive when you're building a business is the prolonged stress. It just never ends. Telling yourself, telling your friends, telling your family, just one more quarter. I just got to work really hard for one more quarter. That stuff will kill us, right? And I think a lot of us got that out of 2020. It kind of hit us in the head, like, what are we doing here? A never-ending moving target of happiness, it's just always moving. It's like, I'll be happy when we get to blank. I would have never thought Delta Life would have got where it got today, but still, prior to 2020 happening, I never stopped and enjoyed it. I was just always, cool, we had that achievement, what's the next one? Had that achievement, what's the next one? It just was never happy. I think I was just going to work like that until I died, so I'm kind of grateful for 2020 in that regard. So yeah, that's the part of the speech that I've given a lot of times. That top one there is the logo that I created with a crayon and a little Mac pen. Like I was saying, when I was a kid and the way I thought brands were created, I was just so wrong. One of my favorite Steve Jobs quotes, you guys probably heard me say it a million times, is once you realize that everything you see around you was created by men and women no smarter than you, is the moment you can do anything. And I really believe in that. And I got to see that from 2009, starting in a parking lot with no business experience, no funding, no capital, nothing, and being able to take that from 2009 to 2019, being a national fitness franchise, that was pretty cool. And I really believed it was possible. And I started to become obsessed with wanting to share that with people that are close to me. And even wanting to see if I could do it again with different business ventures. And then 2020, of course, made a lot of people have to reinvent how we do things and start looking. So let's get back to that first question. So why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to achieve those visions? Why was it so hard that first time with Delta Life? Why is it still hard today with Delta Life? Why is it going to be hard for Cedric to really crush and scale nationally his football camp for kids? Why is it going to be hard for Hunter to continue with the franchise consulting? Why is it going to be hard for Terry and his friends to get Breaking Strongholds on Netflix? It's tough. We meet resistance, right? It's hard. So why is it hard to achieve these visions we see in our head? Everybody seen this, I'm sure? The old entrepreneurial roller coaster. So yeah, right in the beginning, what happens when we first get that idea? We have this great vision, it hits us. We see this amazing need in the marketplace that's not being set, and we get super excited. And then what happens next Tuesday? We go to set the business account up, and we call David Wygant, and we say, hey, we need an LLC, and he asks us all these questions we don't know the answers to. So we lied to David, and we tell him, just set the LLC up with my mom's address, and we kind of get that going, and then we get to the next step. And then every step we do, we don't think we have it perfect, or if we have to second guess how we're doing it, failure and the inner critic and our judge that lives within inside of us. Because usually, and we're going to talk about the pressure you'll feel from friends and family and outside, but the biggest judge and the biggest critic we have is inside our own selves, and that we're going to talk a lot about that. But this is the journey, and there's different good, really good things about being down those troughs. It's not fun. It's not fun to go down the troughs, especially once you've worked so hard. I feel like 2019, we were finally right here, And then, 2020 happened and we had to redo some things. But Nathan and Kristen, you guys know, since that dip, like what great jewels have come out of that dip. And we've had to step back into the studios, re-look at how our consumers' lives have changed and rebuild things. When you have to stop and be like, crap, it's not working anymore, I got to dig back in. There's some really cool innovations that come out the backside of that. I'm certainly seeing that with Delta Life Fitness. I mean, the model it was when it started to where it is today, where it was in January of last year to where it was today, it takes a lot. My friends and family, I've watched so many of you all go through this past few years. Stacy, Lord knows you have paid your dues. I think yours looks a lot more like all the way down, up for a second, back down. But through it all, you've built 5 amazing franchises. Good job. That's impressive. Consulting clients, I got a couple in here that I work with, and you guys give me so much energy. You work hard. I appreciate you guys. Public speaking, it's the same way. I had a lot of, I love public speaking. It's one of the things I enjoy more than anything, really. But resistance almost got me to where I didn't come in here today. Earlier this year, I'd reached out to Elizabeth and wanted to do a speaking gig, and she was like, great, November. And then like yesterday, she's like, how's May sound? I was like, okay. But see what happened, the opportunity opened, and you take it and it would have been really easy to say no and want to let that resistance stop you and not let it, not take the opportunity, because that's the only way you can get back in it is by saying yes, taking the opportunity to refine it and continuing to get better. So I'm not picking on anybody here with this one. So the problem is resistance. And if you haven't read Steven Pressfield's book, The War of Art, am I saying that right? Not The Art of War, The War of Art? Yeah. The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. He labels resistance so eloquently in that book. And he talks about exactly what we just talked about on that last slide. As soon as we get that inspiration or that idea, and we start to work on it, if it doesn't match that initial vision in our head, which it never can, because the vision we have in our head is the end place we want to take it to, and we have to start working on it here. And when those two don't line up, we let the failure come in, and it really holds us back. So, and I've done this. I'm not saying that there's a difference between an entrepreneur and a wantrepreneur. There's a lot of both of these in all of us, right? There's been several ideas and businesses that I have taken. I've had the idea, and I have taken the action, and I've been disciplined, and I've sat down to put in the work and learn the time, and you get the top one. And then when you get the idea, and you get the idea, and you go a month, and you still just have an idea, action is always the thing that's going to take us there. So let's talk about resistance. We get that inspiration, we have the idea, we're feeling good, we hit that first sign of resistance like we just talked about, and then we have some failure. It didn't go the way we wanted to. Maybe the very first client we got with this new business tells us that we have no idea what we're doing and we'll never be able to charge this much for that product. That can really affect us. If we believe that, if we agree with that and let it in, and we experience failure, and it builds that doubt, that's a very strong downward path to come back out of, and it's stopped so many businesses. So how do we be brave and stand in there and continue to know that you can build that vision? I can tell you one thing that I've found on this. We're going to talk about my Ooda Loop here in a second. Everybody knows me, knows I love my Ooda Loop. It's all about just time blocking and sitting down. If you want to do something, who in here has been wanting, be honest, raise your hand. If you've been wanting to start a podcast, start a blog, start a networking group, start a new business, write a book, if you've been wanting to do something like that for years, raise your hand. What stops us? It's that resistance, right? Like, how do you write a book? I don't even know where to start, right? But I know Terry Weaver knows where to start. So if I block out an hour on Monday morning to start on it, that's what Steven Pressfield says in the book, and it's so good, The War of Art, about sitting down and just dedicating the time. That's where the ideas will come from. That's where the answers will come from. You got to sit down and put in the time and go through those time blocks so that you can get there. So Angela, I wish Miss Angela was here today. She gave a great speech a few weeks ago talking about all these things, like why is stress and what are the good things about stress? Because there are a lot of great things that come from stress. They make us get up. They make us work hard. They make us move forward. But stress is really the reactive nature, whereas discipline is more of proactive. If you have those ideas, if you have those things you want to execute on and bring to the world, and you should, nobody can do it like you. You have a very unique perspective of the world. So don't just think that what's another book or what's another podcast. You have a unique thing to share with the world. So I would encourage you to do that. The OODA Loop. So we got to have idea, action, failure, action, and keep going. In the Marine Corps, they have a very, very strong bias for action and momentum. It's the only way you can win in a combat situation. You have to have momentum. So the OODA Loop stands for observe, orient, decide, and act. And whoever on the battlefield can go through that OODA Loop the fastest will succeed. Back in 1944, we were trying to open up a third front into World War II and open up a new front in Italy. So we landed at Anzio. The initial general that landed at Anzio took the beach in just 2 days. They established about a 5-mile perimeter around Anzio. They were doing good. They had them going, but they stalled, and rightfully so. I can't judge what was going on. There had to have been a lot of hard stuff going on that beach. But he paused. He waited. And the Germans were actually able to run down the Anzio Annie, which was a giant artillery gun, and all the Marines that had halted right there on Anzio Beach were just almost completely wiped out. A new general took over, sped up the OODA Loop, had a bias for action, and eventually pushed all the way through and did open that third front. So the OODA Loop that's what the difference is between that resistance and wanting to achieve that vision in our head. You've got to go through those cycles. But so many times we experience failure, and what do we tell ourselves? Oh, I wasn't made out for this. That wasn't a good idea after all. Why did I think that would be such a good idea? This is not a good idea. When you have that failure and that doubt, it's horrible. And you have to so what's different is if you can just get to where you embrace the failure, if you get excited about, because that's where the good stuff comes from. When you make a decision and it's wrong, and then you learn why it's wrong, and you fix it, and you put it back in the marketplace, you're passing up everybody who's still just trying to get their first idea perfect, right? You're never going to get the first idea perfect. Life's too dynamic. If you wait until it's perfect to launch it, you're never going to get there. It takes too long. So observe, orient, decide, and act, and try to speed up the revolutions of that cycle. Yeah, I don't always learn my lesson, but when I do it the hard way. So what I learned over this last year, make sure we're good on time. All right, trying to control everything. Mr. Marek wrote a great book called The Love-Driven Man. I don't know if any of you guys have read that book in here, but The Love-Driven Man is an excellent book written by one of our local people, Marek. He talks about trying to control everything will kill you. When you there's so many things outside of our control, and if you try to stress those ones that we have no control over, just like that young kid in 2005, I couldn't control if one of those bullets was going to find me or if an artillery shell at night was going to find me. So stressing about the things we can't control will kill us. I know Miss Stacy's learned that more than just about anybody. You have to let people know that you need help. I think when I first moved here back in 2017, I wanted to prove to this community that I could make it. So when I would meet with you guys and do one-to-ones, I would never share the struggles we were having at Delta Life. Well, I think a lot of you, Jeff, I just got done complaining to you for about 30 minutes a couple days ago. And Bob, I'm always reaching out to you. And Terry and Stacy, we've probably traded more tears than I can imagine. It's okay. You have to share what you're going through with your friends and family, especially the ones in this community. You got to take care of yourself first. I know that sounds so cliche and everybody says it, put your oxygen mask on first, but it is incredibly true. If you don't take care of yourself first, it's really hard to help everybody else. Share your struggles or your stress with your family and friends. Do any of you guys ever feel like you're protecting your family if you don't let them know all the things that are stressing you out? That's the way I felt, right? I always felt like I'm going to protect them. I'm not going to let them know about the things that are stressing me out. I'm fine. I'll handle it. And then, the wife would be like, hey, you want to go to the park this Saturday? What? How could we ever afford to go to the park? We've got work to do, So you can tell yourself you're hiding it and protecting your family, but then it just comes out in weird ways, right? So Kristen, I'm sorry about that. Miracle phrase, this too shall pass. You guys know that. I mean, we're talking monkeys on an organic spaceship with no roof over our head. Don't take it too seriously. Right? This too shall pass. 1 week from now, you're probably not going to remember the thing you're stressed out about. Right now, 5 years ago, or 5 years from now, I promise you, you're not. You guys know that. The venture might not make it when you try something. Your venture might not make it, but I've learned this will help you. Be okay with that. Be okay with that venture not making it, because the experiences that you've learned, that does carry on. The relationships you've made, that carries on. We always have the ability to pour into our people. Some helpful tactics. I had to dive into these a lot last year. I'm sure a lot of you guys did. It's the normal things. Working out, I had to make sure I worked out, not for the long-term benefits, for my mental sanity that day. Meditation's been great for me the last 12 months. I don't know if you guys have ever tried that, but the Calm app is a really great way to first get into meditation. It's been super helpful. Networking and visualization. Your body really can't determine the difference between an actual experience and visualizing it. The visualization desk is one of my favorite techniques. It's where you simply close your eyes before you go into a meeting. You imagine clearing everything off of the desk and putting it into the drawers, everything that's clouding your mind and getting in your way. And then you just visualize the next meeting you have down to the great success you want to see at the end of it. It helps a lot, being able to see that vision of where you want to take it as you go through it. Elizabeth already talked about this, but this community really is the greatest place to grow a business, and not because of just these great stats, and these are some amazing stats, but because you have so many great people who forged the way and been through this and have experience and are willing and able to help you guys. Get connected with this community, network with us, go to one-on-ones. There's plenty of people here to help you out. All right, to the less experienced. Where's my younger crowd or my less experienced peeps? Where y'all at? Here's a couple of things for you guys. One of the neatest little sayings in the Marine Corps when you become a non-commissioned officer, one of our oaths that we have to say is, I'm an NCO dedicated to training new Marines and influencing the old. I can tell you something. When young people with energy come around, we feed on that. I hope that I give energy to some of my friends in the back of the room. I know for a fact Hunter and Cedric and you younger guys give me more energy. We need y'all. We want y'all here. We don't think you're silly. We don't think you're YouTubers. We want to help you. We need you to step in here. Jeff Hutton gave Hunter some of the best advice I've ever heard a couple days ago. He said, you want to make it? It's pretty simple. Be patient, be kind, and work hard. I thought that was brilliant. Jeff, thanks for that. That was really good. Grow your abilities equal to your opportunities, not the other way around. The big thing I'm going to tell you, you need to learn to love failing if you're young and you're just getting started. You got to get used to failing and reiterating. It's the only way you can make it. We need you to do better than we did. Brands are not established. They change. Consumers change. We don't understand the new needs of the next generation as much as you guys. So we need y'all to step up and help us with that. To the more experienced, to my older crowd, go easy. Share the gift of confidence with these young whippersnappers. Keep pouring into our future leaders. You guys have done it for me. I appreciate it. We got to keep doing that. We got to keep pouring into everybody. I know you're tired. You more experienced people, I know you're tired, but we got to keep going. We need you. The man in the arena. To finish out that first question, I want to leave you with the man in the arena on that one. And just so Bob doesn't have to put his readers on, I'll read it out loud for you guys. And remember that the critic is mostly in yourself. So it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasm, great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who at the best knows in the end of the triumph a high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. So that this place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Such a great one. Man, it's awesome. So how do we move forward with everything going on today? Super short, we're almost done, get you guys out of here. We keep moving on. There's plenty of things to be afraid of. I Googled, how is the world going to end today? And in a half a second, I got 2.7 billion results. 2.7 billion. So I don't know, guys. I don't. Is it going to be the political atmosphere? Is it going to be the economic turmoil we're in? Is it the vaccine? Is it the virus itself? I don't know. There's plenty of things we can be afraid of, but I'll tell you, I don't think it matters. I think it's still, me and Jeff were talking about this, today, still here, everybody in this room, we've got to be like the luckiest 0.001 humans that have ever walked this planet. It is still a great day and time to be a human. We're in a great community. We just got to love and support on each other and keep doing our best. We don't know what's going to happen, but I'll tell you what, it's got to be up to us. We can't look at the politicians. We got to start by taking care of ourselves, take care of our families. Let's build this community. Let's not be afraid of what all's going on out there. Let's keep taking that foot forward. So I'll tell you what I did back in 2005 to continue that story, and I'll end with this. I kept on. I finally accepted in my head, okay, I may die. But if I die, I'm going to try to do the best job I can on this gun so that I don't have to bring down the rest of the plane with me, right? And I did that. And I accepted that I could die, and I just continued to operate despite the fear. And then the next time I got my hands on a satellite phone, I called my wife today, Kristen, and I asked her on a date. And it's led me to just a beautiful life with 3 of the most amazing kids. So when you're going through scary times, just keep going. Put one foot in front of the other. This is an amazing community, and I know we can do it together. Thank you, guys. Any questions? Yeah, that's a great question. So what was one of the things that stuck? His question was, what was one of the most significant things that stuck with me, as a 20-year-old man coming back to I think when I actually came back in 2005, it's a great question, we had a hurricane in southeast Texas. And what was interesting to me? It was a hurricane. Everybody got plenty of warning. We all had to go about 3 hours north, get a hotel, hang out for 2 days, and then come back to our house. And I remember watching everybody feel sorry for themselves. And I just come from a war-torn country where they had real problems. And I came back and I watched the way we handled the hurricane, and I thought, we have it too good. We have it really good. It gave me a different perception because I grew up with not a silver spoon, but very well protected, very loved. And it's, I think it gave me a deep appreciation for Texas and the United States for sure. Great question.
Thank you.
Yeah.